Welcome to Sponsored Post Podcast, behind the lens of how influential content is made. I am Justin Moore. I am the founder and CEO of Trending Family, which is an influencer marketing agency that launches campaigns with family-friendly influencers. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Heather Brooker of the influential podcast and blog Motherhood in Hollywood. Heather focuses on entertainment and parenting lifestyle topics with a side of her signature humor. Heather is also an actress, comedian, Emmy Award-winning journalist, and entertainment reporter for NBC LA, and mother-to-daughter Channing. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, Justin. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. So why don't we just kick it off? If you could share a little bit about your background and your story and your journey to where you are now.
Sure. So I am originally from Oklahoma, and that's where I met my husband in the journalism department at Oklahoma State. I was a theater major on a theater scholarship at Oklahoma State University when I kind of panicked and thought, what am I going to do with a theater degree from Oklahoma? So I went into journalism and found that I really loved it. And I had a passion for reporting and telling stories. And it also allowed me to have a little bit of a performance element. So I started reporting. I became an international correspondent, traveled all over the world doing reports and telling stories. And I just sort of felt that something was missing in my life at that time. And I really loved making people laugh. I loved when we would stop rolling on a live shot at a triple homicide scene or something. I would find the need to want to make my cameraman laugh or my director laugh or something like that. I just always had this need to want to entertain in a different way. And so I started acting in small community theater productions, started doing commercials, started doing local films in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, and really just found a pull into acting and performing again. And I missed it so much. So my husband and I did the old Grapes of Wrath move from Oklahoma to California. We packed up our lives and came out here to kind of see what the West had for us. And really have never looked back. We've been here now, I want to say 13 or 14 years, and we love living in Los Angeles. I started acting. I got an agent. I've been on a bunch of television shows. My husband got a great job in finance, and we've really just made a home and a life for ourselves out here in Los Angeles. So that's sort of where I'm at right now.
That's incredible. And so I imagine at that point in your lives that was a pretty gutsy move, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, did you have connections on the West Coast previously?
No, not at all. We didn't know anybody. It was very much a leap of faith and very much something we just felt like was in our hearts that we needed to do. There wasn't a lot of job opportunities for my husband or me really in what I wanted to do in Oklahoma. So we were like, where can we go? That sounds fun. We didn't have any kids at the time. We just had a dog and a cat, our fur babies, and packed up our U-Haul. And 2.5 days later, we were in Los Angeles, and we had booked a couple nights at a hotel while we kind of looked around for a place to live. And somebody tagged our U-Haul van with like gang signs overnight. And we were like, what have we done? We're like, is it too late to go back? Now we're like, that's no big deal. We're used to it now. No big deal. We just got tagged.
Unbelievable. So, yeah, what a welcome, right?
Right. Like, welcome to LA. Welcome to Hollywood.
Right. So I mentioned at the top, I mean, you do a lot, right? I mean, you're an actress, you have a podcast, you're a mom, and you're obviously an entertainment reporter. So how do you balance all of that? I mean, I got to imagine that your schedule is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy, but in the best way. Like, I find that I thrive the more things that I have going on. On days when I don't have anything to do, I literally get nothing done. I just sit and I binge watch TV, or I'm one of those people that thrives the more busy my schedule is. I'll never forget, I was watching this documentary with Joan Rivers before she passed away, and she was talking about her calendar. She had one of those old school calendars where you actually handwrite things, which I have as well. She handwrites things in there, and she said, the day that my calendar is no longer full is the day that I'm sort of irrelevant in this industry. And that's, when my career is no longer viable anymore. And I just thought that's kind of how I feel. Like, I love to have things to do and things to constantly be moving forward, because I have found if I'm not out there hustling for my career and advocating for myself in some way, nobody else is going to be doing it. Like, I don't have a publicist. I don't have a team of people. I'm my own publicist. It's so funny. I introduce myself and I say my first and last name every time I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Heather Brooker, Heather Brooker. Because I found when I was a reporter, that's how people would remember my name if they wanted to give me a tip or, email me or whatever. So I'm my own sort of PR machine, which is what you kind of have to be, especially in this day and age of social media. So, I mean, there's definitely easier ways to balance things. People sometimes hate the word balance, but I actually embrace it because if I don't balance my life, then it's chaos and something will fall through the cracks. And so I embrace a sort of balance where I'll spend X amount of time doing work, X amount of time doing social media, X amount of time with my daughter. I have to sort of siphon things into day parts and things that I know I'm going to be doing. Otherwise, I won't get anything done. And, that's just my own organizational brain. Some people are more free flowing and fluid and things like that. But I have to be very organized to get everything done.
Yeah. So what inspired you to start your blog and your podcast?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm an actor. So when I first came out here, I was going to a lot of auditions, booking a lot of television shows. And, there was this idea that we had where my husband and I were like, oh, we'll wait until I get on a big TV show and then we'll start a family and then I'll have an on-set nanny and we'll have, it'll be super easy to navigate a family at that time. Well, that never happened. We waited about 10 years before we decided, hey, we better have a family before it's too late. And I have my daughter and it was just so monumentally life-changing and shifting in the best possible way. And I sort of became a stay-at-home mom / actress. So when I wasn't going to auditions, I was at home with my daughter and trying to navigate the world of parenthood as an actress who is not a regular working actress is a challenge. We don't have an office to go to every day where we can swap stories with other moms. There's no way to meet other mom friends other than a Facebook group or whatever. But sometimes people are crazy on Facebook groups. They're a little unhinged. And so I was like, I don't necessarily want to meet these ladies because they don't seem to be very grounded. And none of my friends had kids. None of my close friends at the time had children. And so I was really looking for a way to create my own community and quite frankly, just reach out to other moms in the entertainment industry and say, hey, how are you navigating following your dreams while also growing a family and being there for your child? Because it's not easy in this industry, which is largely freelance based. You don't know from day to day if you're going to have an audition, if you're going to book a week's worth of work, or maybe be 2 years before you get to be on a show again or a film or something. So I really just wanted to start asking questions, which goes back to my reporting career and what I've always been curious about. And my curious nature is asking people questions. So I was trying to think of a way to do this. So I thought I would do a podcast because I was like, well, this will give me a great excuse to have people come over to my house and maybe have wine or coffee. We don't have to dress up. They can bring their kids if they want and they can play with my kid. And it all just sort of started as a play date that I just record. And it took off and I started finding so many moms wanted to come on and so many moms have wonderful stories to tell. And then I expanded to my dad friends and dads had great stories to tell. And it wasn't just actors, but then it became producers, writers, directors, stylists, makeup and hair people. There's a lot of people in the entertainment industry who are parents and they love being parents, but they also love their jobs. And my whole point was that you don't have to choose between the two. Yesterday, Amy Schumer posted something on her Instagram that was like, my kid is 5 months old now and I'm realizing I can love him, but still be the same person I was before and pursue my dreams. And there was 10,000 comments from people that were like, thank you for saying this. This is so amazing. And I'm like, girlfriend, mom bloggers and influencers have been talking about this for years.
Right.
Amy Schumer is not the first person to come up with this. We've been talking about this forever.
So what would you say are the challenges of raising your daughter in Hollywood? I mean, obviously it's probably a lot different than Tulsa.
Yeah.
And I lived in LA for many years. My wife and I met there and we live in the San Francisco Bay Area now. And even that is different than LA. LA is very unique in terms of, the people and the friendships. So how have you navigated that? And what are some of the benefits and challenges you found?
Well, I like to think that I'm an LA girl now. I claim LA as my home, but I still have my Oklahoma sensibilities. And the way I was raised is ingrained in me. And that is how I raised my daughter. It's a challenge because everything in LA seems so much more advanced. Like my daughter is 6 years old and there are kids in her first grade class that have cell phones. And I'm like, what? Like a 6-year-old does not need a cell phone. Like we barely let her play on our cell phones. She has an iPad, but it's not connected to the internet and she only uses it for games and learning to read and stuff like that. And even then it's limited. So LA seems so advanced and it seems like you're either at the top of the food chain and you're given like all of these opportunities and all of these wonderful things, or you don't have access to any of these things. And there's just such disparity here that I really focus on trying to make her see both sides and appreciate the fact that she may never be a multimillionaire who has access to whatever car she wants, all of these things that we see some of our friends and acquaintances getting to do, but also still have compassion and empathy for the people who don't have those things and never will. Like it's a tricky road to navigate in Hollywood, especially when you know celebrities and you have famous rich people friends. And we also go to parties a lot and they gift us things whenever we go there. Like she asked me the other day, like, are we going to get any presents while we're at this party? And I was like, yes, we are. But she doesn't get to keep all of the things that we get. And by that, I mean, we donate a lot of the stuff that we get. I also, a few times a year, host what I call a swag party where I invite my mom friends to come over. And I just give them all of the things that I have been given because it feels super greedy to be like, oh, I have all of these like moisturizers and I have all of this CBD oil and I have all of these things or whatever I've been mailed or given or,
Right.
Stuff. It just feels super greedy. I physically couldn't use all of these things myself, number one. But number two, I don't need to. I would much rather give to somebody else who might enjoy it. And I'm trying to teach her that giving things feels just as good as getting things. And that's important for me, for her to know that this is not normal. This is not the average person's experience in life. We are gifted a lot of wonderful things, but I just want to make sure she doesn't take it for granted and grow up thinking, having an expectation, which can kind of breed entitlement. And that's one of my biggest fears. So I'm probably more strict than a lot of people realize with her. And I think because of it, the biggest compliment I get is when people say, she's so kind and she's so sweet and she's so polite. And I'm like, to me, that's the biggest compliment you can give me because I don't ever want her to be the bratty kid that's like, give me this, give me that. Why didn't we get that? Because I've been to those parties and I've seen those kids do that. And I'm just like, no. Like, I'm not going to let my child do that.
Right.
So it's hard to navigate that in LA, but we do our best, we do our best.
Out of curiosity, I mean, let's say, for example, looking at your Instagram, you work with a lot of brands, and so I'm kind of curious, like, what do you consider your primary career now? I mean, because there's a lot of influencers, a lot of creators who do it full time now, just working with brands, right? And yet you have all of these other things that you're doing, acting and reporting and all these things. So how do you balance that and kind of where do you see yourself, like in terms of your time and your focus and energy, where do you see yourself gravitating?
That is a great question. And quite honestly, something I have been struggling a lot with over the past year since I started my job at NBC LA as a host and reporter about 1.5 years ago. And this is definitely something I have been not struggling with, but like sort of going back and forth on and trying to figure out. I was not expecting Motherhood in Hollywood to do anything other than just create a few like mom play dates and like get to know other moms. I had no idea I was going to be an quote, influencer. I had no idea I was going to be in this world of being paid to take pictures, which is something I do with my daughter all the time, or do funny videos. Like I had no idea that was going to happen. So I never really considered that to be my career, but it's definitely a business that has started. I realized that about 3 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, this is turning into a business. I need to take the steps to make it a formalized business and start treating it that way. And I've learned a lot. But I would say my main focus and my primary career right now, because acting is so It's so unpredictable and cyclical. Like tomorrow I could book a role on a TV show and then book 5 jobs. And then I'm like, I'm an actor, and then go 2 years without booking anything. But I would say my primary job right now is for sure an entertainment host and reporter for NBC. Like that's where the majority of my time is spent, is covering things for NBC.
I think what's so interesting, and you've probably seen this too, is so many traditional celebrities have really kind of doubled down on their digital strategy, right? I mean, you look at Will Smith or Jack Black, or a lot of them have understood now, especially with brand endorsements, that there oftentimes now is a big social component to the partnership, right? It's not just traditional TV ads or out of home or something like that, right? Like part of it has to be like so many number of posts on Instagram and YouTube videos and all this stuff too. So it's like, do you see that trend continuing? I mean, these lines kind of blurring between traditional celebrity and digital first celebrity?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's so funny that you say that, because for years when I've had celebrity guests on my podcast, they almost always, when we stop doing the interview, will say, hey, so how did you build your social media? Hey, so how did you get this deal with Disney? Or, hey, they always want to know how I'm getting this brand work and what I'm doing to grow and build my following on social media, because their managers and their team is telling them they need to do that. I actually had a mom one time almost pretend to be my friend and invite me over for like drinks or something. And the whole time she just grilled me on brand integration and how I got brands and wanted contacts and who were the top mommy bloggers if she hosted an event and all this stuff. And then basically once I helped her, she kind of stopped calling me and talking to me. And I was like, dang, that's harsh. But that happens. That's happened to me more than once. And now I've learned, oh, they don't care about me or my friendship or whatever. They want my information. So I stopped doing that. And what happens is when the celebrities come into the picture, they can command a much higher rate than a mommy blogger because of their celebrity factor. And they know that. And their team knows that. So over the past several years, you'll notice Kristen Bell, for example, I mean, she did not have a major presence on social media at all. Like she would just casually post pictures of her family. But now she's creating mom-specific content for Ellen on EllenTube. And you've got people like Reese Witherspoon who are on TikTok now. And like they're all catching on to what mommy bloggers and mom influencers have been doing for years and making money at. And they're now going, oh, wait, I can double that and I can ask for a higher price. And the brands now are going, oh, well, why do I need Motherhood in Hollywood if I can have Gwyneth Paltrow or I can have, Kristen Bell or whoever, even if it's just like a D level or C level mom celebrity, which happens a lot, they'll still pay them more because they've got that celebrity name behind them. So that is something for me and my mom friends. We talk about that all the time. It's very frustrating because we're out here like using Instagram strategies. We're researching posting times. We're researching how important it is to reply to every comment, engage with everybody as much as possible, and the actual Instagram strategies and social media strategies to grow our accounts. And these celebrities will just come in, post a crappy picture with a product or a random video, and we know they got paid triple or double what we did. And it's so frustrating. And it could all be because they're a celebrity.
One of the things that we chat with our clients about who have expressed interest in celebrity talent in the past too is kind of the major difference between a traditional celebrity and a digital first creator, what I kind of like to, someone who came from the internet, basically, right? So I think it's the expectation of engagement. Right? Like with a mommy blogger or an Instagram or a YouTube, family vlogger or something, oftentimes a normal everyday, follower may get a response, right? You write a comment, like oftentimes they're going to like it. They're going to comment back to you like even multiple times, right? But I don't think that same expectation exists with a traditional celebrity, right? Like you're not going to expect to get a response from Kristen Bell or some major celebrity on their Instagram or something. And so as a result, the bond that is forged with a family and mommy blogger, mommy influencer is so much different and more authentic, I think, because of that relationship. I don't think people feel the same connection that they do with the traditional celebrity. I'm curious your thoughts on this.
Yeah, and then there's definitely some truth there. And I think because of that too, you're starting to see more of the celebrity moms who are like, no, I'm real. Like Amy Schumer, for example, or Chrissy Teigen. They're like, look, I'm real moms. I'm funny. I keep it real. And I'm like, no, you don't. You have millions of dollars and you have 3 nannies, you have housekeepers, you have everything at your fingertips. Like, that's not real. That's not relatable to the average person. But because you crack jokes or whatever every now and then, I might be sounding a little bitter. I'm not, but this is something I think about all the time because it is something that we get passed over a lot for celebrity moms and celebrity influencers. I have been to events before where the influencers who are hired to come and cover it will get, maybe $1,000, a couple $1,000 to post pictures, but then a huge celebrity will show up and they've been paid $25,000, $30,000. They come in for half an hour, take a couple pictures and leave. And it's like, for what? Like, what is the benefit there for the brand, for the company? And that's what I'll never understand. The people who kind of exploded on social media versus like celebrities. An example of that to me is Tiffany Jenkins from Juggling the Jenkins. She literally just started doing goofy videos of herself. It resonated with people. And she talked about her mental health issues and drug abuse and all that. And it really resonated with people. She's someone who didn't really blog. She literally has just kind of grown on social media and her Facebook and Instagram, and now has like a book deal and show deals, and like it's bananas. Her followers, though, are all in on her and her story. And she doesn't reply to everybody. She doesn't engage with them, but they like her anyway, and they follow her story anyway. And they feel like because she's real, that they can relate to her. If I was a brand, I would much rather hire a Tiffany Jenkins over a Kristen Bell because one, you're not going to pay so much, but also she's telling a real story. Like Kristen Bell, God love her, she's lovely, but she has been in the industry since she was a kid. She's never really had to know what it was like to go without. I sound like I'm disparaging her, but I don't mean it that way. But like, they want someone they can relate to and not feel like they're being sold an ad. And I think that that's something that mommy bloggers struggle with because so many of them want to be like, and I do this myself. I'm guilty of this myself because you have to be like, oh, and now I just tried this brand new thing and look at this new product I'm trying. Everyone check it out. There doesn't seem to be a lot of natural, organic ads happening because everybody is just trying to make money. It's this new fun thing and this new fun way. Blogging doesn't really seem to make money anymore. Instagram, social media is where it's at. And everyone is just trying to make money. And nobody is thinking about growing a community or an authentic relationship with people who are investing in their lives.
It seems as though you've really tried to do that with a lot of the events that you've put together and trying to build more of a community, because you're right. I mean, one of the, I think, major existential threats to a lot of digital creators is that they're building their businesses on the backs of these social media platforms they're very fickle, right? Like one algorithm change or one controversial post away from getting your page taken down.
And I tell people all the time, Instagram could go away tomorrow. They could decide, no, we're just going to roll everything up into Facebook now. Or, they just launched the new Threads app. Now we're going to do everything on Threads or whatever. And you've built your entire business on a platform that you don't own, that they can take away from you. They could take your pictures away, close your account, whatever, at any second. Then what are you going to do? So I'm a big advocate for people not putting all their eggs in one basket. Like, you should also be posting on other apps and YouTube, but also look for like a career. So that's why I say like NBC is my career and my job, and Motherhood in Hollywood and what I'm doing on social media is my business.
So talk to me a little bit more about how, as a brand, do you identify the people who actually have an affinity for your brand? I mean, it's tough, right? There's all these platforms and influencer agencies out there. It's so heavily saturated right now. Everyone and their brother can say that they create an influencer agency and go out there and try and forge these partnerships. But how would you recommend a brand navigate that and actually try to find people who are authentic fans of your brand?
I think for brands, it's tough because they see the numbers. They see the numbers. Like if you see someone with 500,000 followers, an average of 20,000 likes on each picture or views or whatever, and like 100 comments, you're going to go, oh, wow, that's going to be way beneficial to me than someone with 90,000 followers, maybe 100 comments and a couple thousand likes. Like they see the numbers. It seems like they don't take the time to look behind that. Because what brands, either they know and they don't care, or they don't know, is that numbers can all be faked. You can buy likes, you can buy views, you can buy impressions, you can buy reach. All of that can be bought on the Instagram app. So there's really no way for them to find out who truly is being authentic other than just going, well, we just like this person, we like their pictures. We think they'll create a pretty photo in a moment or whatever. And so that's why they work with them. And it's not just for mom bloggers. It's all influencers. It's fashion influencers, beauty influencers. It happens across every genre of the Instagram platform and YouTube. Lord knows you can buy YouTube views, and a lot of people do. It's tough. It's tough to be a brand. I think you have to decide, first of all, how much money are they spending? If you're just throwing away a couple $100 or you're just investing a couple $100 in something, how much time do you really want to spend investigating their following and their comments and all of that stuff versus just getting a hashtag going or whatever? If you're spending $10,000, I think that you would want to do a little more due diligence and go, this person's comments all seem to be from bot accounts or whatever. Like, I've seen it happen with influencers using these, I don't know if they have like keyword searches in the comments or what, but the comments will come up as something that has absolutely nothing to do with the picture, nothing to do with the brand that's mentioned, but it'll be like, you're so funny. You are the most funny joker comedian in all of the world. And it's like, what? She's not even talking about comment. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So they're clearly faked. But if they're in comment pods, then what shows up first, if you're, let's say, a brand or a publicist who's kind of scrolling through, is you'll see the first 20, 30 comments will all be from real accounts and they're all super positive. And you're like, oh, this is cool. This person is obviously well liked and respected. I'm going to pick them because I like their pictures and whatever for this brand account. I do not envy brands at this point in time because there's so much fakery that's happening. And it is really hard unless you're doing a lot of major digging into these influencer accounts. It's hard because everybody, it seems like, is buying stuff. Everybody is faking stuff. Virtual assistants, like some people are not even replying to their own comments on their own posts. And it's certainly gone beyond the world of truly what I think Instagram meant it for, which was to, well, number one, make money, but engage with people, create community, and connect people. And now, since Instagram has changed their algorithm so much, they're trying to force people to buy ads to get their post seen. So the people who are truly trying to be authentic, their stuff isn't being seen. They can't go to a brand and go, no, but these are all real people. These are all, this is all authentic. Like, yes, I may only have 2,000 likes on my picture, but those are all real people, not the 20,000 bloated fake followers, So it's a really tricky time for brands. And you're right, there are a ton of these agencies. I get emails every week from, hey, we're this new agency that wants to do this deal with you and send us a screenshot of your impressions and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, no, I don't know who you are. Like, what is your company? How long are you going to be around? Companies I worked with a year ago are no longer in business. So it's just a really strange time to try to be an influencer or for brands to reach out.
Yeah, I think one thing that also probably complicates this situation is that a lot of brands, I think, the organic distribution of the influencers' posts where they're actually posting on their account and getting comments and everything sometimes seems to be a secondary goal, right? Like a lot of times they just want to be able to maybe use the picture or video for paid media, right? Like they want to boost it on Facebook or Instagram, put like additional dollars behind it, or they just want to have like assets to be able to repost on their own, like organically reshare it, embed it on their website. It's kind of a cost-effective way to produce content, right? Because I mean, influencers are production companies in a box, so to speak, right? And it can be a lot more affordable than going out and hiring, traditional actors.
You are hitting the nail on the head. This is something I have talked about with my friends a lot. And I tell them, stop being the ad agency and the production company all wrapped into one for these brands, because they have a ton of money to hire an ad agency and a production company, a PR firm, and you're doing it all for $1,000. Like, what are you doing? I come from an acting background, so I've been to many commercial auditions. I booked commercials where I know how much commercial actors and advertising for print, digital media, or broadcast video, I know how much they should be getting paid. And I know that these influencers are not getting paid that much. And they're doing 3 times the work. Like, there is my one mommy blogger friend who is in San Diego. She has a full production company. She has a video editor, a photographer, like lighting, makeup, like a whole production deal that she does for all of her brand deals. And I'm like, are you making any money? And she's like, no, I break even because it costs so much. And I'm like, why are you doing that? That's insane. I was like, I literally just have my little Canon Rebel and I probably make the same amount you do, but I pocket it all. Like, what?
Well, I think the other challenging part is that if one influencer like holds their ground and a brand they'll say, okay, I guess I'm going to move on to the next person,
Yes, and that's what happens.
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely what happens.
I think collectively, like, you're right. Like, there have been some efforts by, I think it was ICG, tried to like create an internet creators guild to kind of collectively help people like bargain for themselves. And
there's no oversight. There's no accountability.
I guess kind of what I'm curious about, can you think of a very impactful brand partnership you've done, like something that resonated really well with your audience and there was good vibes all around? It was like the perfect partnership. Because I love focusing on collaborations that go really well for all the right reasons. Is there one that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah. Well, the first one that comes to mind is one I did this summer with Kettlebell Kitchens. I was an ambassador for them for 3 months. Kettlebell Kitchens is a meal delivery service. It's all cooked meals delivered fresh. All you have to do is store them in your fridge and then heat them up when you're ready to eat. And it gets delivered twice a week. So you have fresh meals twice a week. And it's all very low calorie, or it can be vegan, or it can be paleo, whatever you decide. And they reached out to me and we started working together. And I got a lot of questions about it. I got a lot of response. People were curious about it. I find that when I'm doing something with my health, when I'm talking about what I'm wearing or any sort of body positivity thing or fashion, quite honestly, is what resonates with people, which is so funny to me because those are not the things that I regularly cover. I regularly talk about like movies and TV shows and acting and mom life and all of that. But the things that seem to resonate the most with people are physical brands and products and things that can either make people look or feel better, which explains why beauty bloggers and beauty brands do so well on social media. But Kettlebell was definitely one. I'm actually launching a new campaign today, a new ambassadorship, which I'm excited about, with Spring Free Trampolines. I'm so excited. They're based in Dallas, Texas, and they flew me out to Texas several weeks ago to go to their warehouse and take a look at how their trampolines are made. And they are a really innovative company that has a patent on how they have built their trampoline to be spring free so that no toes, fingers, body parts, or whatever, the way it's designed, nobody gets hurt and falling through the springs or springing out of the trampoline. It's like truly one of the safest trampolines on the market. And now they're customizing it into different colors and things. And so my daughter now has, I mean, talk about being like entitled and like spoiled, but like my daughter now has this giant pink and white trampoline, and it is literally the stuff little girl dreams are made of.
Oh my goodness.
It's the coolest thing ever. And I couldn't wait to show it to her. And I thought she was almost burst into tears. She was like, oh my God, it's a pink trampoline.
Oh my gosh.
But you can like totally customize it. But what I've loved about this partnership with Spring Free is that they got to know me. I spoke at a conference. I was a keynote speaker at a conference earlier this year. We had a couple conversations at the conference. We had a couple conversations on the phone this summer. They got to know me, what I do, all of that stuff. They were out here in LA. We met up, had a conversation, and they were like, we really love you. We love what you stand for. We think you create fun, authentic content, and we want to partner with you long term. And one of the most valuable things that I wish brands would do more of is let their influencers do what they do best. And Spring Free is like, you create the content. We trust you. We know you know. what you're doing and what's going to resonate with your followers. They haven't been like micromanaging every little thing that I do. Like they sent me key points obviously about the product, and I learned about the product, but they really trust that I know what I'm doing. And that is so helpful and so empowering, because then I have the freedom to create and do what I do best. And I think that some of the most inauthentic brand partnerships that I've had have been when brands micromanage. We want you to say XYZ. You have to hashtag this, this, this. You have to include this word, this word, this word. And then I have to send everything to them for pre-approval. Then they nitpick, change it, make it more ad driven rather than authentic in my own voice. Sometimes I'll push back on it a little bit and be like, I would never say that. This is weird, but ultimately they're paying me to do a job. This is the actor in me where I'm like, they're paying me to do a job. And if this is what they want, then that's what they get. And you have to decide as a creator, like, how much do I want to push back against that versus it's an ad. It is, they're paying me to post an ad for them. So I have to kind of do what they're asking me to do. But one of the things I love about Spring Free is that they're like, hey, we know you're going to create something great. We can't wait to see it. And that is one of the most empowering things I think brands can do, is just lighten up a little bit. You don't have to squeeze the reins so bad. Now, granted, I'm sure some people have been burned by influencers before who've done a crappy job. I know, I've seen it myself. But then you just don't, maybe you don't work with that person anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's super fascinating. I think one of the challenges that a lot of brands have is when they look at influencer marketing as just another distribution channel for their ads, So it's like, okay, we're going to do a TV and out of home and print, and okay, yeah, let's have a little sliver of an influencer budget. And then they go out, they hire 20 influencers. They're all basically saying the same message, versus what it sounds like Spring Free did, where they took the time to establish like a longer term, more protracted relationship with you. They are wanting to align with personalities.
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts on this. My wife also, she's an influencer, and I would say maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, the vast majority of brands who reached out were all saying, oh, we want to partner with Cook with April, which is her cooking channel, or her, April Athena 7, which is her beauty channel, right? And now it's much more about, I want to partner with April Moore, who she's a mom and she's a cook and she's a beauty aficionado. And so it's like much more about, we're all a lot of different things. We're not just one thing, right? And so I think that it sounds like what you're saying is brands who are kind of realize that you need to partner with the whole person rather than just this channel or this Instagram handle or something. Those are the ones who are going to find success. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate. And I think brands do forget, because they're just looking at the numbers, that we're people and we have a following and we're sharing our lives. Because when we're not doing your brand, we're talking about, carpool lanes and school pickup and, lunches, and we're living our lives and we're sharing about that. So when you want me to throw up an ad for your product, like, let me find a way to naturally and organically do that, so my audience isn't like, what? All right, here's another ad. Heather's making money again. Like, there has to be a little bit more trust there with the brands in order to do that. And back to what you said about your wife, about April, I actually am myself getting ready to transition probably away from Motherhood in Hollywood in terms of just like my social channels, and go to my name, only because I do so many things now that Motherhood in Hollywood is just a piece of what Heather Brooker does. And I need to now kind of align everything under the Heather Brooker name, because what's happening is I'm getting lumped into just sort of a mommy blogger category. And I've never been a mommy blogger. I get called a mommy blogger all the time. And it's like, I'm an Emmy award-winning journalist. I'm not a mommy blogger.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it feels very diminutive compared to what I actually do and what I've accomplished in my career. I've also been on over 40 television shows. So I'm an accomplished actress as well. So I need to figure out, at least for my own, in terms of my own brand, how I can navigate a shift from being in this mom influencer category to being Heather Brooker, the person who you want to talk about your product. Because also my daughter is getting older. She's 6 and she loves being on camera. She loves pictures and video and all that. But in a couple of years, she may not. And I was joking with one of my friends at an event yesterday where she was like, yeah, my daughter's going to be 11 and nobody wants to see an 11-year-old get excited about a Disney thing or whatever. Like it's just not as cute as like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old. There's this sort of mentality that once your kids get to a certain age, it kind of becomes sad and weird if you're pimping them out for like, things where it's not as authentic. It doesn't feel as natural because most 11, 12-year-olds are like, Mom, oh my God, please don't take my picture. They're not all JoJo Siwa.
Right.
Yeah, they're not all JoJo. That's like, hey guys, take my picture.
Right.
So there has to be sort of a natural progression into the next phase of your brand, of your career, and of your life that I think a lot of influencers are not ready to accept or maybe not willing to go there. But that's definitely something that I'm in the process of sort of figuring out on my own. Because you're right. I do, like you said at the beginning, I have a lot of hats. I do a lot of things. And Motherhood in Hollywood is just a part of that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Heather. This has been super fascinating. And I felt like I got a peek behind the curtain of Hollywood and what goes on down there. And I appreciate your candor. I think it's hard to talk about these things sometimes about, what we're facing, what the future of influencer marketing is going to look like. Because you're right. I think when a lot of these social platforms were designed, this booming creator economy, I'm not sure was what a lot of people thought would come from that, And so thank you so much for joining me. And so how can people find you? What are your handles, your channel URLs, that kind of thing?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was fun. I do want to point out, I do love Kristen Bell. If it sounded like I was nobody at me, okay? Because I do think she's pretty great. But everybody can find me at Motherhood in Hollywood on Facebook and Instagram and at Heather Brooker on Twitter. You can also listen to my podcast, Motherhood in Hollywood, on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And also you can follow our happenings around here at motherhoodinhollywood.com.
Amazing. You've just listened to the Sponsored Post podcast with your host, Justin Moore. You can subscribe to hear more great interviews and episodes via Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information on Trending Family, you can visit www.trendingfamily.com. See you next time.